heartbreak for Broadway fans.
More than 24 shows, including Hamilton, are now canceled.
Broadway has extended its shutdown due to the pandemic with no productions through next May. No shows means no work and a strain on the livelihoods of this creative community.
Putting nearly 97,000 people out of work with no end in sight until June of 2021 at the earliest.
Could cost the industry more than $100 million.
Her heart breaks for everyone who works on Broadway and for all of those whose livelihoods depend on it.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome back.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. One Hen, Two Ducks.
One Hen, Two Ducks.
Part 2. You're seeing us twice in a row. Like, how do you feel about that? I bet you feel
love it.
excited.
Admit it. You love having us in your home and in your ears and on your screens.
All the time.
All the time. Today is part 2 of episode 1 of our Art Unmasked series. Today we interview Broadway's Bruce Winant. He's someone who's had a very storied career, who's been very connected to the Broadway community for decades. And it is going to be very interesting listening to his interview about just how Broadway can recover from this pandemic.
Let's listen in.
Let's listen.
If I were a Bruce all day long I'd pity, pity, boom. If I were a wealthy man, I wouldn't have to work hard. Lord, who made the lion and the lamb, you decreed I should be what I am. Would it spoil some vast eternal plan? If I were a wealthy man.
Okay, everybody, we have our first guest on our Art Unmasked series. This is a gentleman with a storied career in musical theater, both Broadway and around the world. I met him doing a production of Evita. He played Juan Peron. It was actually Peron. He was it was my first job that I booked in the city. I had just moved a couple months prior, and he could not have made it a more awesome experience. And I'll let him tell you a little bit more about his career. But please welcome. We're so happy to have him, Bruce Winant.
Hi, yes. How are you guys? It's so good.
Hi, Bruce.
So good to see you all, especially you, Megan. It's been too long.
I know, it really has. It is so great to see your face. Such a joy.
Yeah, we did have a lot of fun doing Evita. We were naughty, but we had fun.
Bruce is a prankster, you guys. Bruce is a big prankster.
Yes, we had a lot of fun, goofing around backstage, so it was good.
He put fake cockroaches in all my shoes and stuff.
Well, then, I mean, that's what makes the show even better. All the stuff that happens backstage.
Well, you guys filled my shoes with popcorn, so there you go.
Okay. Well, that only happened because everyone kept the secret of who the roach person was. They kept the secret very well. And then once I finally figured it out, then I had to get you back somehow. That's all I could think of.
So, exactly. Right. Well, fair is fair.
Bruce, can you tell us a little bit about how you came to New York in the first place? Because you were not from New York originally. And then just a little kind of Cliff Notes version of your career up until like January 2020.
Yeah, when everything changed. I was born and raised in LA. And after college, started doing LA theater, which I know is kind of a contradiction, theater, LA, that kind of thing. But yes, there is a rather small little theater world there. And I got heavily involved with that, doing a lot of dinner theater and CLO and all that kind of stuff. And the occasional TV thing, but primarily theater, which was kind of, again, odd for being an LA person. And then kind of rushing forward a lot, I auditioned. I went to an open call for Les Miserables, the LA production. And along with the other 10,000 people who auditioned, I got very lucky and actually got in.
Nice.
I couldn't get into the first. They had 10 days of auditions. I got in on the 7th day, finally. I was seen. Yeah, it was, and only because I knew the monitor. She was like a good friend. So she snuck me in just before their lunch.
Were you
so
there
I
all
could actually
7
get in.
days waiting to be seen?
I showed up for, I think, about 4 of the 7 because I was doing other gigs and stuff like that. So I on the last day I was there, I went, wonderful woman named Lucy Jordan, who is no longer with us, but they actually have an award named after her at Equity, which is kind of cool.
Oh, wonderful. Nice.
Yeah, but she was just the sweetest, and she just kept going, no, you have got to be seen for this, and this is silly, we can't get you in. So I was there like right at like 11:59, right when they were going to break for their 12 o'clock lunch. And when they put the last person in, she just poked her head in and went, nope, I got one more. And kind of shoved me in there. And so, and the rest is history. And so I booked it, which was fantastic. And so that was my kind of first launch into the kind of Broadway world. And I did the original LA company, went on to do the San Francisco company. And while we were in San Francisco, the producers were preparing their next show, which was a little, quiet little show called Miss Saigon. And they decided to have auditions up in San Francisco and let us, audition up there. So I auditioned with them up there, and I had actually left Les Mis shortly after that, gone up to Seattle to do something in the Park with George. And while I was there, I got a call back. And they said, would you come to New York for a Miss Saigon callback? So I did. And I got it. So my wife and I decided, hey, let's do the New York thing for a little while. We thought 6 months. Yeah, why not? And so we moved to New York. We opened Miss Saigon, and I never left New York. I fell in love with it, and I fell in love with the theater in New York, with the whole kind of theater community in New York, because it was so much. It's a whole different world from LA. And we decided actually that that's where we would stay. And our daughter was born there, and we thought, that's it, we're going to stay in New York. And so I did Miss Saigon for a couple of years. Was kind of going, okay, time to move on. And I went over to a new show called My Favorite Year, which was a huge bomb, unfortunately. Really good show. Great show that just was horribly managed and horribly directed and horribly kind of put together. And it's a shame because it was a really, really wonderful show. It was one of the early Aaron Flaherty shows. That I mean, the music, the book, everything was fantastic. But just everything, the cards, it wasn't in the cards. They, so the show kind of fumbled and closed rather quickly. And so I went back to Miss Saigon for a while, and it was during that I auditioned and landed Ragtime. And so that was my kind of new thing. So went to Toronto for a year, where we developed the show, then opened on Broadway, did it for a year. And unfortunately, after that first year is when Garth Drabinsky, our producer, was arrested and thrown in prison in Canada. And the show kind of fell apart, unfortunately. And at that point, I decided, okay, start to audition for other stuff. And auditioned and landed the role of Amos in Chicago on tour. So went off and did that, which was fun. That was a blast. Got to work with some incredible people.
What I wouldn't give to hear you sing Mr. Cellophane.
I was just thinking
it was fun. It was so much fun. And we actually went to Japan with it. which was hilarious because in Japanese there is no word for cellophane, so it's cellophane, and so it kind of means, it means invisible and worthless. So Amos, which is actually a very funny character in the show, is tragic in Japan. He's this heartbreaking, tragic character. And it was so funny because people would come up after the show and they'd like be crying, and you go, "No, you're supposed to laugh. It's supposed to be funny." But so it was very touching. And in Japan, people would come after the show with gifts, and they took pictures of me and my family and had them framed, and it was a crazy experience. It was really sweet. While I was on the road with Chicago, I came back. What was next? Oh, then I got to do a wonderful production of Most Happy Fella at New York City Opera.
Nice. Which
was a hoot. Working with opera people. Talk about weird. That's a weird world.
Yes.
Yeah, but so that was kind of fun. And then that's when I went into Fiddler on the Roof at which was the Alfred Molina 2004 production, and did that for 2 years, which was a blast as well. And then from that, went on the road with Phantom of the Opera, which was my kind of crazy time. Oh, and actually between there, I actually did a 2-month stint of Chicago on Broadway, which was lovely. Nice. Then went on the road with Phantom, where I spent 4.5 years on tour, which was wonderful and not, because my kids were growing up and it was weird being away from the family. That's one of the downsides of, working on tours is I missed my daughter's whole kind of high school life. And after 4 years, when my son was starting to go into high school, I said, nope, that's it. I'm done. I've got to come home. And so I did. And they very kindly put me into the Broadway company of Phantom at that point. And then during that time, I developed a side hustle, which actually started in LA, but became less of a side hustle and more of a major thing, which is called looping. And I have a company called the Dan and Bruce Company. My partner Dan Fink and I here in New York. What we do is we cast, direct, and perform as what they call a loop group, where when a film or television show is completed, of course, when they're shooting it, all the extras and all the background people have to be quiet. And then after, in post-production, we put voice to all the people in the background. So in a restaurant or a party scene or, in a boxing match, the crowds and all of that, we hire a group of actors. We go in, we watch the movie, we pick the people we're going to do, and we create the vocal soundtrack, as it were. Cool. So it's a lot of improv and a lot of research. If we're doing a medical thing, you've got to learn medical. If we're doing a law thing, you've got to learn legal. So that started to become much more, of a regular thing once I got back from Phantom, and did a little bit of Phantom on Broadway, which was great. Then kind of leaned more towards the looping stuff until I was very lucky and got cast in the La Cage Fall revival with Kelsey Grammer and Douglas Hodge, which was a hoot, and that was really fun. And then finished that. I went in as a replacement, finished that production when it closed. Then a few months later, got a call because they asked if I'd be interested in the tour, and I said, no, not really, especially under a CETA contract, which I said, nah, making more money not doing that. So they came back to me like 6 months later, and they said, the guy who was playing Dandon, the conservative father, he broke his leg in doing the show, and we need someone who can step in like tomorrow.
Wow.
And they, after turning it down 3 or 4 times, they finally kind of decided, okay, we'll pay you. What do you need? And not a lot, but at least enough to make it worthwhile. So I said, okay, I'll come out and do it for 3-4 months while he recovers. So I got to do that, which was fun. Did it with George Hamilton and Christopher Sieber, who Chris Sieber, who is one of the funniest laugh whores in the business. He is brilliant.
Wow. He is awesome.
And it was such it was a real hoot. And George Hamilton couldn't have been sweeter. So that was a fun experience. And then came back, got more into the looping thing. And then my last Broadway thing, which was a few years ago, was I did the last few months of the An American in Paris on Broadway, which again was a beautiful production.
Yeah.
And and that's it. And so since then, I've been concentrating mostly on the voice and the looping stuff.
Let me ask you a question, because I feel like I remember a stint in the Radio City Spectacular Christmas. Weren't you like Santa or something?
Oh dear, yes. That was one of the worst experiences of my life. It was terrible. Terrible. Harvey Weinstein.
Well, there you go. Enough said.
There you go. Enough said. Decided to produce a version of the Rockette show, not Christmas, but spring. So it was the Spring Spectacular. And it was spectacular. They had these magnificent giant puppets of like the lions from the New York City Library and the Statue of Liberty and these ridiculous sets. And Derek Huff was the lead, and Laura Benanti, and people like that. And I was supposed to be all these all the character people of New York City. That kind of went out the window once we started rehearsals, and they went, we don't have time or room for that. So you're basically ensemble. And I was understudying Lenny Wolpe, who was kind of one of the main leads. And it was horrible. The show was terrible. The first thing I had to do, which was one of the most embarrassing things I have ever done on stage, is I had to be an angel at the very beginning, because they had this kind of pseudo story that Derek Huff was an angel being sent to Earth to help this guy who was a New York tour guide fall in love with New York. And so that was the kind of very thin storyline of doing all these big musical numbers. And at the very beginning, I'm standing, in Radio City up on a balcony way above the stage, waving 8-foot angel wings.
My goodness.
Yeah, it was pretty horrific.
I'm sorry I brought it up.
Yeah. I will say it paid very well, but aside from that, it was not a great experience. The good thing is working with the Rockettes, who are some of the greatest athletes you will ever work with. They are, they're brilliant dancers, but they're also athletes. I have never seen anyone who gives grief to these ladies, no. These ladies work so hard, and they are so good at what they do, and they couldn't be sweeter. And
that's good.
They're treated very well, and they deserve it because that was kind of a cool part of it. But
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. All right, so you've done you've been focusing on your looping business.
Right.
You kind of do a little film and TV here and there. January 2020 hits, and I know you had some projects in place. What were your thoughts when everything kind of shut down? Did you think it was just going to be maybe a couple weeks of a postponement? Did you think a couple months? How did it feel? Like, how was the vibe when all it kind of happened, and what were you thinking?
Yeah, that was the crazy part. I did have we had a very big thing happening, the Ragtime reunion concert, which was going to happen at the New Amsterdam. That was in the works, and we were preparing to go into rehearsal for that. And it was, we were so excited about it. And, since the tragic passing of Marin Maisie, they decided that Kelly O'Hara was going to step in that role, which would have been, to see her play that role would have been amazing. It was really, we were so looking forward to it. And then this thing hit, and they tried to keep kind of backing it up a little bit, thinking, oh, okay, well, this is going to pass. And it was probably around March that they said, no, it's not going to pass. It's, and a lot of us thought that. We thought, okay, it's going to be like SARS and like, swine flu, and, it was going to be like those things. And when it just started getting worse and worse, I started to see the writing on the wall, and it was like, this is not good. And when that got canceled, I was going to also do a summer gig out in Wichita. And that, of course, they had to cancel their season. And it really was, it was horrible. And that's when I kind of realized this is serious. And we're going to be in a lot of trouble. And my neighbor, who was in Mrs. Doubtfire, and then a good friend, Danny Burstein, who was in Moulin Rouge, when their shows shut down, again, thinking, okay, maybe this will be a couple months. No one thought it was going to be a year.
Right.
And still going. And then Danny, of course, God bless him, he came down with COVID and had a horrible experience. Was in the hospital for weeks, and then of course he just lost his wife to ALS. So it's been horrible.
Right.
Horrible. Yeah.
Did you feel when it first started, like, I don't want to say like denial, but I know I was kind of in denial, because I was like, it's not going to be that bad. It's going to be fine.
Right.
And then as things kind of got pushed, it was like this overwhelming, like, well, I mean, especially you have this looping business, you have theater. They were both pretty much shut down. Did you ever have a moment of like, what am I going to do?
Yeah, actually I did. My biggest concerns were, how am I going to work? Of course, we were all thinking that. But then all of a sudden, all the other practical aspects, what happens when my health insurance runs out? What happens when, mortgage payments and all of this stuff are coming up? My son was going back into college, and it was like, okay, we have enough money now, but what's going to happen, 6 months, 7 months, a year from now?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I think we all were in a little bit of denial and thought that, after 9/11, we thought everyone was going to be afraid to go to the theater. Mm-hmm. And a couple months later, we were back, and we were, I think I said to Megan the other day that, theater will find a way. Art will find a way. Creativity will find a way.
Yes.
You can't kill that.
No.
And I thought, okay, we're going to find a way. Unfortunately, we haven't yet. I'm amazed, as we've been going forward, at the creativity that theater companies and performers have had in keeping the arts alive. you know, via Zoom, via, you know, YouTube, whatever way they can. And it's, you know, it's been inspiring to see that. But, you know, when will we be back in theaters again? Hopefully, you know, I don't want to get political, but hopefully after Wednesday, things will get better, because a plan is in the works,
right,
to get that vaccine out, and to, you know, there's a plan where there hasn't been up to now.
Right. And a plan equals hope.
Exactly. Bless you. Exactly. A plan equals hope. And I think once we get that hope back, and Governor Cuomo has come up with this plan to bring the arts back. He's got that plan to at least try to invest in some of the venues, the outdoor venues and the larger venues like the Armory and the Shed and places like that, the Delacorte, to get things rolling again, so that once enough people get the vaccine, we can get back into the Broadway theaters and get, you know, get all of us working again.
Right. That was something that I knew that came out in the news a couple of days ago, but I didn't. I don't think I dived too far into it to really see what was going on. Do you feel like that plan at least kind of gives you a little bit more hope for maybe like the summer and fall, that at least we might have options?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think what that is going to do is that's going to jumpstart. That's going to, you know, kick some people in the butt and say, okay, it can be done. It'll also hopefully kick our union in the butt. Our union has been, I mean, I love Equity, but they have been really tough for the right reasons. But some theaters have really worked hard. I know a few of the theaters have gotten the approval to do shows. A friend of mine down in Florida, she runs the Gulf Shore Playhouse, finally got permission to do love letters in their theater. You know, two people on opposite sides of the stage reading the play, and you know, and able to what they've done is they've pulled all the seats out of the theater, and as people order their tickets, they're put in clumps in the audience section. So that they then, you know, okay, there are 60 people in the audience tonight. There are 3 in this group. There are 2 in that group. There's 4 in that group. They, you know, and that's how they set up their seating.
Okay. Right.
And she went through hell trying to get that approved by Equity.
I bet.
And eventually she finally did.
Wow.
You know, I know there have been those horror stories, and I get it why Equity is a little, you know, tentative. You know, that ridiculous dinner theater, I think somewhere in the Midwest, where they did The Sound of Music and went non-union. They decided, okay, you know, Equity's not going to give us permission. We're going to do it all non-union. Within 5 days, every person in that cast had COVID. And it was like, okay.
Gosh.
Yeah. And all those kids, you know, so it's like, I understand them being careful, but you know, they also need to listen to the producers who are really trying to do the right thing.
Right. There's got to be compromise there.
Yeah. I think Barrington Stage, I think they've gotten permission to reopen. So, you know, so there's some. They
did the kind of distanced Godspell last year, didn't they?
I think that was
late
them.
Summer?
Yeah. That was very successful, apparently.
Right.
Yeah. And I do know a college production of, I think it was Guys and Dolls, and they all wore the plastic face shields.
Yeah.
Which I think was hilarious. You know, so you could see their faces. They all had the mics inside the face shield, so it didn't sound too weird. But they did the show, normally, with face shields.
You would think this would be the perfect time to write and perform a musical set on the moon with astronauts.
Exactly.
You know what? I just thought about that. Like, why haven't we done that yet? That's brilliant. Then you're just
there's probably someone. There's probably writers right now going crazy, having like ideas. It's gonna burst. You'll see 2022 especially. I think there's gonna be all these shows.
Yeah, there's going to be the scuba diving show, underwater, and then the one on the moon, and exactly.
Yes, there's going to be a lot of symbolism of like can't touch and all that kind of stuff, I'm sure.
Right, and then as an actor, it's not only just the fourth wall. Now it's the immediate wall that you have to ignore.
Right,
and then the fourth wall.
You now have the third wall, and then the fourth wall.
And then ignore it all, people.
But yeah. Exactly. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And I know in Cuomo's plan, he's got people like Hugh Jackman and some big people involved in doing this, so that we can get some star power to help get audiences interested and and not being afraid to come try to do this. And again, I'm hoping that this summer will be the beginning of kind of the rebirth of our world.
Do you feel that with like as you're starting to see like more of this kind of different creative energy blossom within the theater community, because I know you were saying the other day your looping business is kind of back on track because film has started to kind of start again. But with your theater side of your artistic self, when you had, like, I know we kind of all dealt with that sadness of everything shutting down, but do you get inspiration and creativity from seeing the creativity of others trying to figure it out?
Oh, God. Yes. Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, last night, it was weird, but last night, my daughter, who also is an actor, she lives in the city, and bless her, she's been pounding away, trying to, as we all have, trying to, make a living. And she was working as a bartender at Beetlejuice when all this happened. And I love the whole Beetlejuice company because they treated the front of house like part of the company.
Nice.
So, which rarely happens in a Broadway show, where the front of house is part of the whole team.
Right.
And it was a really close group of people. And of course that shut down. And so she was out of work and she didn't know what she was going to do. But like a lot of people have done, she got involved with this, it's called Venus and Fur Theatrical Company or something like that. Venus and something like that. That's the name of the play. I don't know. I may be mixing it up. But anyway, she got involved in this company that they created a show, and they paid for the writer director to develop it and put it together. And because they couldn't do it in a theater, they helped finance her to film it. And so it was all done on tape. So they took the play, adapted it into a kind of interesting video performance art piece. And last night at 8:00, they premiered it on the company website. And it was free, which, and they asked for donations, but it was free. And I think there were about like 100 people signed on to watch it, which was kind of cool.
That's awesome.
And they presented it. The whole thing. And I think it was like an hour, 20 minutes. It wasn't real long. It was weird. It was... I had to say it was,
Is this from a dad perspective or from an artist perspective that it's weird?
Both, actually. Both. From the dad perspective, it was weird because it was a story of a lesbian couple, teenage lesbian couple, who are dealing with their relationship, and the character, not my daughter, but the other girl, dealing with abuse from her father.
Oof.
And it and yeah, very heavy. And one of the first scenes, they're buck naked. It was like, and she didn't warn us. She didn't warn us.
I can't even imagine my husband. Oh my God.
Oh, please. My wife and I were sitting there. We're watching the first couple scenes, and we're kind of going, okay, this is odd, but okay. And then all of a sudden, the next scene started, and there they were embracing. But I went, they ain't got nothing on.
Oh my God.
And yeah, it was kind of crazy. Yeah, so she got to do that.
Wow.
I get to do my first COVID on camera thing in a couple weeks, which is going to be interesting. I haven't done that yet. I'm going to do the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel,
which I love, by the way. Oh my
It's a great show.
It's about time you're on that show.
Well, and what's so funny? Well, yeah, as everyone says, okay, you're finally on the Jew show. It's about time.
Well, I just feel like there's just something about the way the comedy is that I'm like, Bruce would be great. Like, he would just be great on this show. And I'm like, why hasn't he been on this yet?
It's fun. But what's hilarious is that I got the script the other day and was reading through the script, and the first page usually has the cast list. And the whole guest cast, no names had been put in. I got the rewrite last night, and all the guest cast is now in. Turns out the woman who played my wife in American in Paris and the guy who played one of the leads are also in the episode.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is a hoot. A guy who I did Pippin with out at the Gateway Playhouse, oh my God, 20 years ago. He was Pippin, I was Charlemagne, and he's in it. And so it was like, that's so cool. They're hiring all these theater people, which I think is fantastic.
That is fantastic.
As they should.
I don't know if you heard also Law and Order SVU.
Yes.
Jonathan Strauss, I think, is the casting person. They they're making a concerted effort that every guest slot on that show be played by someone who has lost a theater job.
That's so amazing. I'm
you
so
been
glad they're doing that.
Have you been on SVU yet? Is that next?
Oh God, years ago. I played surprise, a Jewish jewelry store owner.
I don't know why anyone would want to hurt Jennifer.
Model employee?
Model human being. Don't touch the merchandise, please.
Maybe you wanted to buy me something pretty. It is our 10-year anniversary.
Mazel tov.
What?
No, not that. Yeah, no, I've been on SVU. I did 3 of the original Law and Orders.
Nice.
I played a wimpy CPA, a ballistics expert, and a sniveling lawyer. So
Megan, that's next for you because everyone's in SVU. So
I know.
Get it together.
Exactly.
You just need to be I'll be a dead body. I'm
Do
ready.
it.
Well, you got to be. Everyone's in SVU, and you've got to get onto Blue Bloods too, because that's the other one. Yeah.
It's hard, man. It's hard to knock on those doors. Get in there.
I'll pound on them for you. They won't listen to me either, but I'll still pound for you, Megan.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
I'll help you pound.
Thank you. Thanks, Bruce. I got a good team. I appreciate it.
Yeah. But it's going to be weird because I've never done any of this COVID stuff. So apparently a week before I work, I've got to be completely isolated. I've got to be tested 3 times prior to showing up on the set. Apparently what you do is they throw you in I guess we're going to be on location. So, I'll be in my little trailer with my mask. They bring you out, you do your scene, you put your mask back on, you leave. You can't sit and chat with anyone,
Right.
Craft service is gone.
No,
I know.
Oh, that hurt. That would hurt.
You live for craft service when you're on a set. Gone.
Oh, God. Why?
That actually disturbs me because I have a feeling producers are going to go, they were able to do it during COVID without craft service. Why should we bring it back?
Exactly. No, you have to bring it. Please.
Oh, I know.
Are they gonna bring you food? Like, what if you're on set for
Yeah,
like 15 hours?
apparently what they do is they put a little tray of just stuff in your trailer, and that's it. That's your craft service for the day. And then lunch, you order it through the PAs, and then they bring it to you.
Oh.
So yeah, it's.
That's fine. Hopefully they bring it back.
They better.
They better bring it back. I did an episode of Fosse Verdon, and they, God.
That's right, I saw you in there.
Yeah. Well, that one, the craft service table literally took up an entire hallway. It was so long, and they had hot food, and they had the candies, and they had the fruit, and they had the vegetables. It was like, who needed lunch?
Exactly.
It was like...
Have you been kind of I know you're about to go back into the acting world here soon, but during the shutdown, did you do anything acting or singing wise to kind of keep yourself going?
Well, yeah, you know, I would do occasionally. I would try as much as I could to keep singing. You know, I would. Funny enough, I going to and from like the store and things like that in my car, I would do a complete vocal warm up and sing as loud as I can, so not to disturb the family. But so I would try to keep that up. I actually volunteered to do some readings for. I did a show at Cleveland Playhouse a couple of years ago, and so I offered to them and to some other theater companies. I've said, look, if you are going to do any kind of online Zoom things, I'd be more than happy to do it for free, just to do it, you know, and to keep, you know, to keep things going. And what I got I didn't get as involved as I wish I had, but something I got my daughter involved in and some other people, which I think is great. If you don't have the opportunity to work with, say, a theater company or anything like that, but to get a group of people together and do play readings, you know, just for yourselves on Zoom. You know, each person picks a play, whether it's a classic or a contemporary or something, and you assign the roles, you give everyone a week to read it, you know, and work on it, and then you do it. And that kind of stuff just keeps your head going, keeps your head in it. And I think it's really important to kind of keep that going. You know, more so than, say, like another friend of mine in LA who just has been learning monologues.
Yeah. You know how Sir Ian McKellen started doing the sonnet a day thing, and he would just kind of broadcast it? If you did something like that, Bruce, I would watch it.
Oh.
Like we should find you like a funny poems book, and you just read a funny poem every day.
Read a funny poem every day.
I feel like that would lift the spirits of so many people.
Well, and I love the fact that Sir Ian and other people like that have been doing either little bits like that. I know Patrick Stewart's been doing it as well, and people like that, and that's wonderful. And then there have been other people who've been doing classes online. Helen Mirren and Judi Dench and some other people have been doing these online courses, you know, for actors, which I think is fantastic as well.
But so my last question is, do you have any words of wisdom that you would impart on artists all around the country that aren't really connected to New York City but want to be, but now have no idea what to do?
Yeah, I would just say you got to stay in it. You got to, first of all, what we talked about earlier, the hope. You know, we've got to have hope. We've got to, you know, I'm looking at Wednesday. I'm looking at our lives are going to get better. They have to. They couldn't get worse.
Yes.
And with that in mind, to remember that, again, art cannot be squashed. Art will find a way. So to keep in, like I had said, if you don't have a theater company that you work with or a class that you're taking, online or anything like that, find your tribe. I always like that. I forget the actor who coined that, but find your tribe. We all have a tribe that we understand, who understand us, and we understand them. And they, and within that tribe, find a way to keep active, find a way to keep creative, whether it's play readings, whether it's, I know another group that do little 5-minute plays. They're writing and they give them to someone else to read, to do.
Fun.
And, it's a little group of like 12 people and they all work together on these things. Sing every day. That's another thing that is freeing. Bless her soul. Please rest in peace. Rebecca Luker, literally on her deathbed, recorded several songs on Zoom video that have been released on YouTube and stuff like that Danny has released, when she was so weak, but still with that glorious voice of hers, she kept going, and that was something that kept her going, in the darkest of times. So I believe that if we continue to show that art can heal, and that music, theater, poetry, literature, whatever, it's all healing. And the more we do, and the more we try to share with others, we'll be ready when the time comes to jump back in.
Thank you so much, Bruce, for being here today and chatting with us. I could not be more pleased with hearing your thoughts on all these different topics that we talked about, especially when it comes to arts in the pandemic. Thank you
I hope
much.
That podcasts like this and other ones, give hope out there, and just kind of say, hang in there. We'll get through this.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's been a great honor meeting you. I'm so happy.
Oh, you too. Thank you guys so much. It's been fun.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Bye, Bruce.
Bye.
Bye.
Yay, Bruce.
Yay, Bruce. Round of applause for Bruce.
Yes.
Round
Awesome.
of applause for Lauren Gemelli.
Yes.
Thank you, Bruce, for your
Jazz
time.
hands for Lauren.
Jazz hands for Lauren. Jazz hands for Bruce.
Yes.
We appreciate you both for being on the podcast and speaking to us and our One Hen Two Ducks family and ensemble about, just how it is being a creative person in this time.
Yes, it was an amazing thing to hear. And I know as a fellow artist that it inspired me. I am now far more hopeful. I loved how that was the theme in both of those interviews is hope. And I think that's what we can take away from this Art Unmasked, is that although this pandemic sucks, although it's halted, as Lauren said, it's hibernated our artistic expression, we're not done yet. As Bruce said, art finds a way, and we will hold on to hope.
And we hope you will join us on Patreon at Patreon.com/OneHen and become a subscriber and get some really cool merch and get some really awesome insider info into our episodes and get some really cool backstage stories from Bruce and Lauren.
Yes, so make sure you like and subscribe so that you can definitely watch those as they pop up. We're not going anywhere, so make sure you like and subscribe so that you can definitely stay in the know. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.